And here she comes, that marvelous silhouette, already familiar, but by no means a familiar sight at Farnborough, and a tremendous moment for everyone here. Not least for John Cochrane, the #2 test pilot, who unwontedly is sitting beside me while Brian Trubshaw flies the airplane. A great moment, John.
Yes, it looks very nice indeed. It's a good day to have it at Farnborough, I think. Taking it to France for a change.
What kind of speed is he approaching at, John?
Well, the first pass, I would say, is about 350 knots, somewhere around about 410, 415 miles per hour. With the nose up, you see, and visor down.
Nose up and visor down. This is the first time we've seen Concorde, as it were, live on television, with the droop snoot up.
That's right. We normally fly with it either at 5 or 12 degrees down in the takeoff or landing configuration, but today there'll be a number of passes made, some of them with the nose up, some of them, in fact, with the visor up in the supersonic configuration. But I'll try and tell you that as we go through.
A comment has been made about the amount of smoke that Concorde is making over Farnborough at this time, John.
Well, that's, we might say, one of the prices you pay for development of engines of the power that we have in Concorde. You can't cure all of your problems all at once. We have got a small problem with smoke, but that's because they're largely because they're development engines. This is not the kind of thing we would expect to put into airline service, not by any means. By that time, I believe we'll have got rid of the smoke completely.
Even on low-level passes like this, John?
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, because takeoff and landing requires quite high power in an airplane like this, and this is the one thing we aim at, is to get rid of the smoke at high engine powers.
I think it's important to remember that the sort of flying we're seeing Concorde do at this very moment is something entirely beyond what she was ever intended to do. Is it difficult to make passes like this at these speeds?
Well, it's not the easiest thing. You're quite right. Of course, you don't build a supersonic airliner to make displays. It requires reefing the airplane around in tight turns, making passes with high engine powers, the sort of thing we frankly don't like demonstrating, quite truthfully. And I think both Brian Trubshaw and myself feel that it's not the best way to show the airplane. The best way to show the airplane is to put people inside it.
She looks beautiful, even empty, though. Just look at that. And despite what you were saying, I noticed that Brian Trubshaw is demonstrating the low-speed roll controllability. That was a very useful aileron demonstration, I would have thought.
Yes, the airplane's got a tremendously high rate of roll, in fact. That was probably around about 1/3 of its normal rate of roll at that speed. He could, at a certain amount of risk, demonstrate a much higher rate of roll, which the airplane is naturally capable of. It's very useful to have this high rate of roll for crosswind landings and so on and so forth, but to keep the airplane tight in the circuit, I think he's controlling the amount of bank he puts on the airplane quite correctly.
I'm sure he'd be very flattered to hear you say that, John.
I'd like to think he would at least appreciate that I understand why he's doing it. Yes.
We read and hear a certain amount of comment about the program, but you and Brian Trubshaw are the chaps who really know how this program is going. You seem to be in very good heart indeed, John.
Well, I think both of us are very pleased with the way the program's going and with the way the airplane's behaving, particularly in the supersonic regimes. It's done extremely well, and the rate at which we're flying it is, in my view, extremely... it's very good indeed, Raymond, because we're optimistic in the extreme to expect to fly the airplane at the number of times per week we're flying this airplane right now.
How many hours do you yourself have on Concorde now, John?
Well, I should think about 100 hours, something like that.
And as far as you're concerned, we must just listen to that bar.
The visor's up on that pass, and he now has very little forward visibility, so you notice he's climbing away rather early, but he'll perform a dumbbell turn at the far end of the runway and make the second pass also, I think you'll find, with the visor up if you're looking for it.
That is the supersonic configuration. That's as clean as you can get her.
That's as smooth and as clean and as pointed as you can make the airplane. The only unfortunate thing with this prototype airplane, you'll appreciate that the visor is a solid metal, well, it's a metal visor, which is unlike the production airplane. The production airplane has a glazed see-through visor, if you can use that expression, and which would make these sort of passes very easy. But with the prototype, you can't see ahead of the airplane, and therefore for low-level passes you have to be very careful you don't run into air traffic control or something embarrassing like that.
But again, the point is that the aircraft is doing something for which it was not designed. I mean, you wouldn't be flying in that configuration at this kind of altitude.
Absolutely not. It would normally climb up till about just beneath the speed of sound with the visor down, then raise the visor at probably a height of around 35,000 feet and go supersonic with the visor up. So this is the supersonic configuration you're seeing, demonstrated, I think, rather well today, in a completely abnormal environment.
You really are trying to curry favor with the boss, but we'll let you off. John, seriously, you, I know, have been completely in love with this aeroplane since you first handled her, and we all remember that day. Has your affection for her handling characteristics survived the test?
Very much so, I think, Raymond, because I expected much less of the airplane than the airplane's given. To be perfectly truthful, the airplane's turned out to be a lot better than I expected it to be for such a sophisticated airplane, such an extraordinary shape, and for an airplane capable of as much as it is.
And here, once again, we see the aeroplane which means so much to the future of British aviation and French aviation, and indeed the whole future of civil aviation throughout the world. John, we all wish you and Brian the very best of luck.
Thank you, Raymond.
Well, say what you will about the Concorde argument, it's a